There's one really important principle that I have kind of lived my career by, and this includes prior to being a city councillor when I worked for Environmental Defence Canada, um, is organizing works, right? Like it might not work. You might make one deputation and you don't get the results you want, and you feel down, but that builds to something, and it's really important to recognize that just because you didn't get it the first time doesn't mean that work didn't lead somewhere. Organizing works. We are stronger together. Unless you have friends that own billboards or that own newspapers or that have the ear of Mr. Tory, you are stronger because of the other people on this call. Remember that. Because it's your collective power that gives you power. I'm going to make just one example about how you got to just keep trying. Is for 7 years, despite the fact that the Auditor General, the General Manager of Toronto Water, and just about every independent water industry association advocated for a polluter pays model to our sewage bylaw, our sewage use bylaw. For 7 years, I put forward the exact same motion to Toronto City Council. The exact same motion. And it failed for 6 of those years. And on the 7th year, it passed. And that was only because we kept trying and we kept growing that support base. And so I just want you to remember that all of the work you've put into this point and all of the work that's left ahead is building to something. And so it's critical that we keep the movement growing. Because as was said by the organizer, by Lynn, the problem is getting worse. And, you know, I've got 2 little girls. They may pop their heads in by the end of this. It's around bath time. So this adage, this worldview of our Indigenous people on Turtle Island, that we should think 7 generations behind and ahead. I don't know about you. I'm having a really difficult time grappling with the changes that my kids will see in their lifetime, that their grandkids will see in this lifetime. Like, I live in roughly the same world that my grandparents grew up in. It was different. We got iPhones, we got all that jazz. It's like there's difference, but the planet and the climate conditions are roughly similar. It's going to be really different if we don't start making some major changes now for my grandkids, if I ever get them. And that like tears away at my soul. I mean, this is a hard job, and some days I wake up not feeling so enthusiastic about sitting on video calls for 15 hours a day. But the one thing that keeps me on those calls is the little bit of the time I get to spend in that day talking about climate and trying to make some advances there. And you know what that means? That means the call with you tonight is that little bit of time. And that's what I find so fulfilling about this job, is helping activate people to become stronger environmental stewards, stronger climate activists, because they back me up and back councillors and people with that same viewpoint at City Council, allow us to make some of the changes, like the home energy loan program, $40 million or $30 million we got under Doug and Rob Ford. Who would have thought they would have put forward the only energy efficiency program in the country? They voted and supported unanimously. And you know why? Organizing. I got every single organization and industry group to sign on a paper saying this is what we want, and no one voted against it. So it works. Now, in the budget process, look, it's a $13 billion budget. A lot of that is baked in to existing programs. You got to carve out your piece. And it's changeable. It's not finished baking yet. Every year we reallocate between 20 and $40 million. And sometimes they're well-established programs like youth centers or our ravine strategy we worked on for years and got some advancements in the last budget, our parks program. Sometimes it's those things. And then sometimes they come out of nowhere and it's just really solid, good organizing. A couple years ago was the period purse. No one had even heard of this thing about providing necessary feminine products to people living on the street in a variety of different forms. No one had ever heard about that. But buzz started around it and the deputations started coming in. And it was a very precise amount of money. And it was very well researched. And that ended up getting inserted into the budget. There was a group of kids from Regent Park that weren't getting the time in their community center, in their new aquatic center, to do their swimming. And so they started coming forward in groups and doing presentations. And lo and behold, those little folks, like this little one here, say hi, Chloe, like this little one here, they ended up facilitating that change at Toronto City Council in the budget. And it happened just because of those deputations. You can take those paint. Don't worry. Mommy will make sure you don't paint stuff. So there is some latitude in the budget as it currently stands. So I'm going to give just some really quick pointers and a couple more examples if you'd indulge me. First is all politics are personal. That is all politics are local and all politics are personal. If you come in telling your story, rather than just bringing forward facts about how bad the problem is, but how it makes you feel and why you're taking time out of your day. And try to make those stories as relevant as possible to the people in the room, to city staff, because they also have a role to play in this, but to those councillors, sure. So tell your story and identify yourself, where you live, the community you come from, whether it's geographic or cultural, help express that. Because it makes, it's really awkward through the screen because we all don't feel real. I'm looking at a screen of 30 people right now and there's more on the call. I can't see you all. So it feels perhaps not as authentic as it does in a committee room, but that doesn't mean what you're saying doesn't have to be. And you really do notice when it's coming from the heart and not coming from a script or not coming from something given to you. So try to frame the ask in your personal life and the personal commitment you're making. Try to make that ask as specific as possible. For years, we've struggled with this, particularly in the climate field, we haven't asked for something specific. It's always been, it's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough. And it wasn't enough, it wasn't enough. So try to make that ask as specific as possible. In this case, given we haven't started asking staff questions yet, I would frame the ask around whatever Toronto Environmental Alliance puts forward as what the climate ask is. Simply, or what is decided on this call later today. Simply because having the same thing come from everyone, from all our deputants, from the community, from petitions, if it's the same thing, it allows us to be successful. And I'm sure you can imagine this. We've got people asking for 100 different things. And when they're in the same issue, you kind of don't know what to accept. You've got, or what to put forward. You've got some over here and some over here. You would like to do what everyone wants. You can't always, but you would like to. But when the sector is asking for something that isn't specific, it makes it very difficult because you know you're going to be letting a whole lot of people down if you don't do X rather than the Y. I hope that makes some sense. But try to get that ask to be very specific and try to make it, try to have the same message coming from other deputants and from other sectors of the movement. We've now got the other one, so my apologies. She's waving. This is Phoebe. She's named after a songbird. Yep, they can't hear you because you're on your, well, they can't hear you very well.